Hey class, it's Darwin here. I'm doing my Block 4 literacy promotion based on the book The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. Great book. What I'm doing is I am doing literacy circle activity where I am the vocabulary enricher and the connector. For the vocabulary enricher, I chose to use a resource called vocabulary.com, which I thought was very helpful. I didn't actually take notes when I was reading, other than jotting some vocab words down. But vocabulary.com actually had a very comprehensive list of vocabulary words and the sentence from the book, so the word in context, and the definition in context, which I thought was a really good resource. Um, as far as my role as connector, what I did mostly was try to connect the text to today's world. So it's kind of a text to world type connection. I know there's other things you can do as connector, like connect the text to yourself, etc. But I chose to connect the text to the world. Okay, so here we have Arthur and a piece of artwork from the book. And I chose a few words here describing Arthur's character. So we have the word cerebral, of or relating to the brain. Then there's a sentence in the context of the book. I was actually born with too much cerebral spinal fluid inside my skull. So actually that definition also takes you to the word hydrocephalus, which is what Arthur is diagnosed with. And actually the author, Sherman Alexie, in real life had the same diagnosis. He had surgery when I think he spent a lot of time sedentary for his first 7 years of life and had surgery. So I thought I'd share those two words with you. Also, vocabulary word lopsided, having one side lower or smaller or lighter than the other. My brain damage left me nearsighted in one eye and farsighted in the other. So my ugly glasses were all lopsided because my eyes were so lopsided. So you can see in the artwork there, you've got kind of a lopsided look to his glasses and his eyes. I've got the word seizure, a sudden occurrence or recurrence of a disease. But the thing is, I was having those seizures because I already had brain damage. So I was reopening wounds each time I seized. Got the word susceptible. I haven't had a seizure in 7 years, but the doctors tell me that I am susceptible to seizure activity. So susceptible, yielding readily to or capable of. Impediment, something immaterial that interferes with action or progress. You wouldn't think there's anything life-threatening about speech impediments, but let me tell you, there is nothing more dangerous than being a lad with a stutter or a lisp. And you can see in this artwork where he's got, the caption that shows he's got a speech impediment. Okay, so here we have the artwork showing the direction to the reservation and the direction to Hope, which would be pointing to the white world, reservation pointing to the red world. Red world is home. The white world is an unknown quantity. So I've got a couple of words here. Reservation, a district that is set aside for a particular purpose. So I draw because I feel like it might be my only real chance to escape the reservation. Endeavor, a purposeful or industrious undertaking. The quality of a man's life is in direct proportion to his commitment to excellence, regardless of his chosen field or endeavor. And death camp. a concentration camp where prisoners are likely to die. But somehow or another, Indians have forgotten that reservations were meant to be death camps. Okay, so here we have Arthur's sister, and Arthur experiences quite a bit of death in the book. So I thought I'd choose some words as the vocabulary enricher in that context. So we have sibling, a person's brother or sister. She'd never counseled a student whose sibling had just died. Drift, to be in motion due to some air or water current. And a curtain drifted in on the wind and caught the hot plate, and the trailer burned down quick. Oops. So we have the word destiny, a course of events that will inevitably happen in the future. Considering how many young Spokanes have died in car wrecks, I'm pretty sure it's my destiny to die in a car wreck too. This is Eugene, who is Arthur's dad's best friend, and I believe in the story he died under the influence of alcohol and crashed in a vehicle. So here we have Arthur's grandmother. She is an elder, a person of more advanced age. I was too young to deal blackjack at the casino. There were only about 15 green grass lawns on the reservation, and none of their owners outsourced the mowing jobs. And the only paper route was owned by a tribal elder named Wally. So the word endure, to face and withstand with courage. How much loss were we supposed to endure? This after Arthur had lost his grandmother, his sister, and his dad's best friend, Eugene. So here we have some artwork of Arthur being intimidated or chastised. So I've got a couple of words. Devastating. Physically or spiritually destructive. It's just devastating. Squaw. But I knew I'd have to put a stop to it eventually, or I'd always be known as a chief or Tonto or squaw boy. So here we have Arthur's dad, who is an alcoholic. Got the word binge, an occasion for excessive eating or drinking. I mean, yeah, my dad would sometimes go on a drinking binge and be gone for a week. But those white dads can completely disappear without ever even leaving the room. Also the word eccentric, conspicuously or grossly unconventional or unusual. Sure, my dad has a drinking problem and my mom can be a little eccentric, but they make sacrifices for me. So here we have Penelope, which is Arthur's girlfriend. The word is penultimate, which means next to last. Roger's nickname for Penelope was penultimate. Word disown, to prevent deliberately as by making a will from inheriting. Kid, if you get my daughter pregnant, if you make some charcoal babies, I'm going to disown her. The word translucent, allowing light to pass through diffusely. I missed my white friends and my white teachers and my translucent semi-girlfriend. So here we have Arthur making a piece of artwork about the question he gets, are you poor? So I got a couple of words. The first word is woe, misery resulting from affliction. And now I'm sure you're asking, okay, Mr. Hunger Artist, Mr. Mouthful of Words, Mr. Woe is me, Mr. Secret Recipe. What is the worst thing about being poor? And the second word is perseverance, persistent determination. Poverty doesn't give you strength or teach you lessons about perseverance. So moving on from vocabulary into the connector role. So here we have, again, Arthur, and he's, through his artwork, he's focusing on his differences. So what I connected here is he's feeling like an outsider because he's different. And you can see here, his first experience. I think this is when he goes to the white school. He's getting ostracized by the people that he meets, and he doesn't stand for it. He actually picks the biggest guy out and punches him, and things seem to get better after he does that. So I think the connection here to the world is, if you talk to adolescents long enough, I think you'll find that they all feel like they're different or in some way an outsider. And I think it's this adolescent period in life where they're all struggling to find themselves and to persevere through this awkward period and find something that they're good at, so that they can get beyond their feelings of being the odd man out. I think you see Arthur do it with sports, which is another connection that I made. Many people who come from poverty or have differences have found, their strength in some kind of a sporting activity, which actually takes them beyond that feeling of being the odd man out and allows them to overcome it. So here we have a couple of things that I connected. You've got this idea of embracing opportunities of the outside world versus the idea of being static, which is kind of the new norm for the Indian reservation, is nobody wants to leave, and Arthur is the exception to the rule. He actually, at great risk to himself, takes a chance and embraces the opportunities of the outside world. The other connection is, he faces a great internal struggle when he does this. His decision is to either stay on the reservation and not disappoint family and friends, not subject himself to being ostracized, versus to leave for bigger and better opportunities that he knows he really needs to do to achieve what he wants to achieve in life. So the connection here is that many of us, I think all of us, at some point face a challenge where we are trying to be both a good member of our community and true to our individual selves. So I think that this is very relevant in everyday life and certainly in the lives of adolescents. So a few more connections. We have the connection of alcoholism from the text. The author and through his characterization of Arthur's diary, claims that alcoholism on the Indian reservation is pretty much an epidemic. There's so much of it, and you see in the book how devastating alcoholism can be to family and friends, and people oftentimes die as a result. We saw that with Arthur's sister, and it was a very devastating thing for him to deal with that. So you've got alcoholism, you've got death, and it seems like the death topic with the Indian reservation, very often it was not from natural causes. It was from accidents that may have involved alcohol, etc. Also, the connection of family support, or how a cast of supporting others can be so helpful in terms of young people trying to go out and seek out their dreams and succeed. I think even though Arthur's parents are alcoholics and not so successful, They also are very supportive